Sairam to all of you. Sai Bhagavan, when you are beside us, there is nothing unachievable.
Silence, a powerful tool for your spiritual progress. Silence in Tamil is called as Maunam.
Sairam. Today I am going to talk on silence. Yes, silence. How's that? Swami would often say that if you cannot understand my silence, how are you going to understand my speech? Generally people say that silence is golden and speech is silver. But do you know that silence is very, very, very powerful? Yes, it is very powerful, and that is what we are going to look into it today. According to Swami, silence means silence, meaning that Sai is watching us whenever we are silent. That is what he means that. So, what is silence? What's the meaning of silence? Well, silence, does that mean that you shouldn't be talking to anybody, or you just keep quiet, or you just shut your mouth or close your ears and do not listen to anything? Is that so? No. In fact, in silence, you can even sing in silence, you can dance in silence, you can speak in silence, and also you can scream in silence. This sound is only at the surface. Silence is at the core. When the water hits the surface, it makes noise, it makes sound, but deep down in the core, there is no sound at all. That we refer that to as nishabd, that is absence of sound. So is with our life too. So, in the absence of sound, there is no reverberation, there is no creator, and if there is no creator, there is no creation. It is all beyond something called as beyond life and death. So, that is what we refer to as nishabd or silence. I would like to quote one incident over here. It might have taken place somewhere around 15 years back, because during those days, and I heard this actually, it's a real happening, and I heard it through one of the devotees. And during those days, it seems that the bhajan sessions and the Veda chanting sessions, they were all used to be conducted inside the rooms. So from 2004 onwards, the bhajan session were brought outside so that everyone can participate and everyone can have some nice time during the bhajan session and enjoy the bhajans as well. Now, during those times, what happened was when the bhajans were going on, the Veda chanting also used to go on inside the rooms. And during these moments, if Swami wants to call a devotee or he wants to convey something to the devotee, he will call very closer to him. And the devotee who is standing very close to Swami will not be able to hear anything whatever Swami says, because of the bhajans which are going on, and the other side the Veda chanting is going on. So there is a lot of sound. So again, Swami would repeat, and again, the same thing happened. The devotee was not able to understand what Swami was saying, and this was noticed by one of the person in the audio control room, and immediately he took an action. And what he did was he slightly lowered the volume of the speaker, which was kept very close to Swami, as well as he reduced the mic volume where the bhajan singers were singing. So when Swami repeated again the third time, the devotee was able to hear and understand what Swami is trying to convey to him. So this is just an example to show or to say that you can hear God's voice only in silence, Or, in other words, I can put it this way to say that only in the depth of silence, God's voice can be heard. Swami has demonstrated multiple times and has emphasized the importance of silence to the students. Now, one of the thing that he will always tell or give advice to the students is to practice the sadhana of keeping maunam. Maunam is nothing but silence. Now, this used to be the favorite sadhana of the students. So, say for example, on a particular day, say a Thursday, now the student wants to practice the sadhana of maunam, keeping maunam. So, he will carry this throughout the day. So, hence, when he is going to attend the classes in the school, so this will be carried over there also, the same practice. So what happens is, suppose if the teacher wants to ask or puts a question, now this boy will not be able to answer anything. Of course, he can have a paper, a pencil, or a pen. If at all it is very important to communicate, then he would write and show it. Otherwise, he will not speak. So the teacher also respects this, because they are from Satya Sai Higher Secondary School and they will not force the boy to speak. So this used to be one of the favorite sadhana of students in Satya Sai Higher Secondary Schools when they were studying. In one of Swami's discourse in February 1994 in the university auditorium, he said that there are three types of maunams. One is the Vak Maunam, second is the Mano Maunam, and third is the Maha Maunam. Vak Maunam means the silence of the spoken words. Second is the Mano Maunam, which is the silence of your mind. And third is Maha Maunam, which is the absolute silence, that silence from which the Big Bang, the entire creation is made. So we will look into all these three different types of maunams as per Swami's words and as per Swami's description. So we will let us get deeper into this and let us understand and let's see what it is. Let's begin with Vak Mauna, that is controlling of your tongue, the controlling of your speech. If you cannot completely cut it, at least you can reduce it. Now, Swami says that out of this five sensory organs that we have, what are they? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the skin, and the tongue. Now, out of these five sensory organs, the tongue is very, very special. Why? Because it has dual function. It can taste as well as it can speak. Whereas the other organs, for example, the eyes can only see, that is it can observe, or the ears it can only hear, whether it's music or whether it is a speech or whatever, it can only hear. The nose the same, like it can only smell. So these are all in one dimension. But whereas the tongue, it has dual function. As I said, it can taste as well as it can speak. Now the very interesting thing is, this tongue is residing in between the 32 teeth. If you have 32 teeth, or whatever the number of teeth that you have, so it is residing in between the teeth, and plus it is so soft because it has no bones, and it moves so flexibly that it doesn't get hurt also. So Swami says that we also need to be like that in our life, that we need to be soft, we need to be flexible, at the same time we don't hurt ourselves. So that is what we learn from this sensory organs, the tongue. So that's why it is very, very special. And also Swami beautifully says that the tongue is a nartaki. Now what is nartaki? Nartaki means it's dancer. So, when this tongue dances too much, there is a possibility, there is a chance of telling lies, there is a chance of hurting others, there is a chance of expressing your ego, like you know that Arishat Vargas, we call it as the Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Mascharya all find expressions only through the tongue when it dances too much. So, how do you control this tongue, or how do you hold the rein of this tongue? Swami beautifully puts it this way, that na the ki, when you reverse it, it becomes ki the na. That is nothing but you keep singing the name of the Lord, and this is how you can control the tongue. So, Swami puts or emphasizes of doing this practice of sadhana of silence. Would like to relate one incident related to Vak Maunam, which are the true happenings. And I wanted to say that I've gathered a lot of facts and figures and incidents. I've heard it through so many devotees or through some talks here and there. The reason being that I want this not only to make the topic very interesting, but also the essence of it to reach you all. So there was a student by the name Amitabh, and he was in the final year, 12th standard, and that was the last year for him. And so he thought that that's going to be the last year he's going to be with Swami. And so he decided to practice the sadhana of silence. Actually, you know something, what happens is when we come to know that somehow we come to know that this is going to be an end, so we try to give more importance, more value to it. Same something like this, Raja Parikshit, I hope all of you know or know him. When he came to know that he had only 7 days left to live, he gave up all his kingdom. He straight away went to the river Ganga, and there he met great Shuka, and he said, pleaded him, and he said that please tell me the stories of the Lord. I don't want any food or any drink or nothing I want, but actually I just want to listen to the stories of the Lord. So imagine the same thing is with us also. um, I would also try to recall that if all we would have known that March 2011 was the last month that we would see Swami physically. So, don't you think all the Sai devotees and even others, those who are close to Swami, would have left everything, whatever they were doing, and they would prefer to be in Puttaparthi only so that they can have the last either 15, 20 darshans of Swami. So, it is very natural. So, that is what we always do. So, it is very thing that actually we do not know when is our end or whatever it is. Otherwise, we will have to give more importance to it. Nevertheless, I would say that whether you know it or you don't know it, you always try to be in a state of where you will give importance to everything, for all good things, for all good deeds and good service, and so on. Okay, now I can also share one more thing, that it seems that there was a student who was a very brilliant and a bright student who scored centum in almost all the subjects except one, the chemistry, where he scored 96. All the other subjects he had scored 100. So it was always a habit over there in Puttaparthi that students, especially the students, they would like to go and consult Swami for everything, what to do further, what is the next course of action that they should take, and so on. So the same thing, this other student also who scored centum in all subjects except chemistry as 96. So he went to Swami and he asked Swami, what shall I do in the college level, at the college level? So Swami told him, after hearing his course, he said, you go and do specialization in chemistry. So, what does this mean? It means that Swami wants us to make us perfect in whatever we are weak in. That is, He wants to chisel us and He wants to make us perfect. So, that is what He says. If you are weak in, if you cannot keep quiet, or if you cannot silence your mind, or if you cannot control your speech, then go and do this sadhana of silence. So, if you cannot control your eating, then you need to cut down on your eating. If you're watching too much, either it is maybe a TV or any other shows or whatever it is, try to refrain from watching and so on. So actually this means that na sukhat labhyate sukham. So you are not going to derive any happiness out of happiness itself. Only if you go through some sufferings, you will derive happiness. This is what Swami insists, and we need to understand that, and also we need to follow that.
Swami says, start early, drive slowly, reach safely. We never know when what will change. Spiritual investments should be done at a very early age than the materialistic investments.
Coming back to the student Amitabh, when he decided to keep silent for 15 days, so he went and told Swami that he is going to keep silent for 15 days, and if he wants, if Swami wants, that he should keep practicing this very often and in his life. So that will be very nice. And but at the same time, told Swami that he wants a reward for maintaining this 15 days of silence. So he said that, and then he left, and then he was keeping that silence. But it so happened in the middle, this Christmas day, the 25th December had come on that particular year, and you know that Swami comes in white robe, so beautiful to look at. And in the Prashanti Mandir, there will be a lot of celebrations going on, carol singing, and so on. So, in that excitement, what happened is the student Amitabh became so excited. So, he went and was sharing so many things with his friends on that day, and he forgot his vow. Then later on, he realized, oh, I'm not supposed to speak at all. Oh my goodness, I have now broken that promise that I gave to Swami that he will do the sadhana of practice and of keeping silence. Now, what am I going to do? Anyhow, then he thought in his mind, I will try to tell Swami that this happened by mistake, but I'm not going to start again from the beginning. So I'll continue like this, and I'll finish this 15 days of my silence. So then also he thought on another one, that whether he may get that reward that he asked for. The reward that he asked was to have a ride with Swami in his car, sitting next to him. So then he thought that, okay, if Swami wants to give me that reward, it's perfectly fine. If not, then I'm not going to practice the silence at all in my life. So this is what he thought. So then anyhow he continued. He didn't start from the beginning, so he just finished it on the first of the next year, the new year, I mean. And so that day, actually, Swami called him, and he said, you know that one of your friend who is in the hospital, that general hospital during those days, is very, very sick, isn't it? So this student Amitabh, he said, yes, he is. So you do one thing, go and tell him that Swami is going to come and see him. So Amitabh didn't know what to do. He said, okay, fine, I'll go and tell him. So he went there. He met his friend in the hospital, and he said, Swami said that he's going to come and see you. So at the same time, it seems there was another girl patient who was in that hospital. It seems in her dreams, Swami had come and said that I'm going to come and visit you. Fine. Then after some time, Swami actually he went to the hospital. He met his friend, that is Amitabh's friend, who was very very sick, and he said, "Not to worry, you will become all right." Also, he went to that girl patient, and he said the same thing, that you will be all right and you will become okay, and nothing to worry about it. So all this Amitabh was watching this. So he said, "Wow, Swami, he came here, he blessed that his friend, and he went to that other girl patient there. He also blessed her." So he was really awestruck, and then he was just keeping quiet. And then later on, Swami turned to the student, Amitabh, and he said, "Come, let's go." So then he just followed Swami, and Swami just came out of the hospital. He was about to get into the car, and at that time, it seems there was another a great soul, a learned man who was the editor of that time, during those times, the Hindu, as well as later he was the editor of Sanatana, the journal. So he Swami said that his name was V.K. Narasimhan, I believe. So he said, Mr. Narasimhan also to sit in the cart that is in the front, and he told Amitabh, "Come with me and sit with me in the car." So at the back seat, so where Swami and the student, both of them, they were sitting together, and he told the driver, "Go to that super specialty hospital." So Amitabh was, really confused, and he actually couldn't understand what was happening. So then Swami told Amitabh that, "Have you seen that the big hospital?" He said, "No." "Yeah, we are going there, and we'll go and have a look at them." He said, "Okay, fine." Then that throughout that journey, which took almost like say 10 minutes, Amitabh didn't speak anything. Only Swami and that other person, the Narsimhan, they both were talking to each other. They were cutting jokes, they were cracking, having fun, and there were a lot of laughter. Everything was going on. And Swami was also equally, sharing lots of jokes with that other person. And this conversation was, things were going on. And this Amitabh very quietly was sitting and listening to all this thing. So once they reached that hospital, the big hospital, that is a super speciality, the gates were closed. And Swami just saw that one, and he said, "Oh no, the gates are closed. So that means we cannot go inside right now. So let us get back to Mandir." So he told the driver, "Turn your car and let us get back to the Mandir." So when they came back to the Mandir, and Amitabh got down, he was in such a bliss that he couldn't even realize, understand that how Swami was so nice and so beautiful. He kept his words, and he rewarded him actually, that he will give a ride in his car sitting next to him. So he kept up his promise. But whereas Amitabh, he didn't keep up his promise. He took Swami for a ride, but Swami gave a real ride in his car as Amitabh wanted. So this is how Swami works. So it seems he blesses everyone, and he will always keep up his words, and we need to learn from that. And that way Amitabh was very much blessed, and he was in so much of ecstasy, he couldn't even believe that day what had happened. So that was very amazing to know that how Swami works with us wonderfully. The incident that I narrated just now, related to that, I have a question, that first of all, why should we always expect some kind of a return, or some other reward for all the actions that we do? It's not necessary, isn't it? If you have full faith in God, and you have that firm determination that God is always there to protect you, He is going to be next to you, and He is going to solve your problems, or He will be able to guide you in whatever difficulties that you are facing, then you just leave it to God. Even Swami says, "Why fear when I am there?" So that is what should be inculcated into our mind, and strongly it should be registered in our mind also. And even the Baba's quotes, which says that Shraddha and Saburi, these are the two main things that we need to practice, and we need to believe in that. And all our, whatever the job or whatever the duty or whatever the action that you will be doing, you will be successful, and there is no doubt about it. So he is always there with us, and he also asks us, Swami asks us, I know that when I am there with you, what else do you want? Isn't it? That is so nice. So we don't have to worry about anything. So now let us move on to the next stage, that is called the Manamau.
You're now entering a stress free zone.
After accomplishing the Vak Mauna, we slowly shift to the Mano Maunam, that is the silencing of the mind. But you know, our mind is always filled with lots of thoughts. Now, how do we get a peaceful mind, or how do you attain the silencing of the mind? So, what Swami says is, now our mind is something like a Mansarovar. A Mansarovar is a lake which is on top of Mount Kailash, and it is full of fresh water, and it stays very still. If you throw some pebbles into that surface, it will create a lot of waves, and you can see those waves as far as you can see. So this is actually, Mansarovar is looks like a huge ocean, and who is the source for all the rivers such as Ganga, the river Ganga, river Indus, river Brahmaputra, and so many other rivers too. So it is a freshwater lake, and it is very pure in nature, and our mind is also something similar to Mansarovar. So you don't throw pebbles into it, otherwise it'll start creating a lot of disturbances, a lot of waves, and so on. Then you won't be able to go to the depth of that lake, right? So in order to go and to the depth, we need to cut down our disturbances. So for that, of course, we need to practice this Vak Maunam. And once you have accomplished this Vak Maunam, automatically your disturbances will reduce, and you will be in the deep silence of your mind. So this is called Mano Maunam, and this needs a lot of practice. Of course, if you have accomplished Vak Maunam, it is easy to shift to your Mano Maunam, and you can stay there for a very long period also. So this is called Mano Maunam.
Your peace of mind has to do with what you focus on. It has nothing to do with life. Empower yourself. Always align with the nature. You will experience miracles. Now you are ready to enter into Mahamaunam, the absolute silence.
Mahamaunam is a state of absolute silence. When we are successfully able to walk out from the Vak Maunam, and then we move on to Mano Maunam, and from there, when we again successfully come out of Mano Maunam, we will be able to finally tune ourselves and get into the state of this absolute silence. Silence, we all think that silence means nothing, but it is not so. Silence is not nothing. It is very, very powerful. You know what happened? That once for me in the interview room, when he was giving the interview for some few people sitting over there, he just showed his hand like this and asked, "What is there in this palm?" Then one person he answered, he said, "Swami, nothing." Swami said, "In this nothing, there is everything. And what you see, everything outside, there is nothing." So, what does that mean actually is that is actually there was nothing, and from that nothing the big bang appeared, and the whole lot of creation was created, and that is what we see today. So nothing is the need for everything, nothing is the basis of everything. So silence is not nothing. Actually, the speech will connect you to the external world, but the silence will connect you to your mind. So Swami also says that the Vak Maunam is like an ornament and also an armament. What does that mean? That it will decorate us as well as it will protect us. So we need to actually first start with the Vak Maunam. We need to control our speech, then proceed to the peace of mind, that is a Mano Maunam, and then we shift to the or tune ourselves into this Maha Maunam, which is the absolute silence. And when you are in absolute silence, you will be able to hear the voice of God. So you might have many number of times noticed, if you have visited Puttaparthi, there before the darshan, that is when Swami was to give the darshan, and before his arrival, there will be a lot of hush and bush, and there will be a lot of sounds. The minute he enters the hall, there will be absolute silence, a pin drop silence we can say, and you can hear even his small movements that Swami makes, even the footsteps that Swami can, as he is walking. So all these can be heard only when there is absolute silence. So this is what Swami emphasizes, that we should practice the sadhana of silence. And on behalf of all of you and myself, I take this opportunity. I request to Swami to give us enough strength and bless us and be with us all the time and protect us. Thank you. Sairam.
Silence isn't empty, it is full of answers. All of you have Bhagwan's blessings in abundance. Bhagwan wants you to lead a peaceful, happy, blissful life and grow in sincerity, devotion, and steadfastness. Sairam.